Welcome to the Confessions of a Group X Instructor podcast. For group exercise junkies and enthusiastic classgoers, we'll explore and uncover authentic, thought-provoking, and heartwarming industry education and inspiration from entertaining, badass fitness pros. And now your host, creator of Warrior Rhythm, Warrior Strength, Warrior Combat, Warrior Revolution, and Warrior Kids Group fitness brands, Ellen DeWord. Here we grow.
Welcome, everybody, back to the show. We have Ingrid Knight-Cohee back with us. Hi, Ingrid.
Hello again.
I know, I'm so excited to have you back because you know why? I feel like the first time you came on the show, we didn't know each other, and now we kind of do.
Yeah. A lot has happened between
Yes.
the original episode and now.
It's so true. We were basically strangers popping on a podcast together. And so for the audience sake, if you missed that episode, it was very, 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 very long time ago. That was episode 14 that Ingrid and I did together. And we talked about her program, Masingi. And I want to encourage you to go back and listen to that one. If you haven't already, I will even link it into the show notes. But that's episode 14, and this is episode 72.
Oh my.
And we're going to be talking about the next generation of fit pros. Maybe before we do, would you just kind of briefly introduce yourself a little bit for those who might not know who you are?
Absolutely. Thanks, Ellen. Thanks for having me back. And my name is Ingrid Knight-Cohee, and I am, I guess, first and foremost, I'll lead in with being the 2024 Idea Fitness Leader of the Year, which is, still a crown I'm proudly wearing. And
never, ever take it off.
Yeah, right.
That's the best. It's like the best.
Well, it's been a fantastic year. Because of that, but I've been in the industry for a long time, going on over 30 years. My current position is Director of Fitness Classes for Fitness World Canada. So we have 17 locations in and around the Vancouver area. And I am the founder of Masingi, which is the world's first Afrocentric functional movement practice. So that's kind of how I fill my days and many nights.
Yeah, I understand. Oh, that's so incredible. I am going to be collabing on something with you, so we can maybe tell them about that later. We don't know how that's going to take shape, but
absolutely. Yeah, we're both doing all kinds of things, but yeah, in my world, day to day, I oversee 163 fitness class instructors. Collectively, we teach around 500 classes a week across all of our locations. We are primarily freestyle, so my role is very creative in terms of programming, inventing new formats, educating my instructors on those formats, but also giving them a lot of free rein so that they can do their creative thing as well. But yeah, that's how we service. I think we're approaching 100,000 members now. So we feel very much back in the rhythm of things after a turbulent time. But I know we're here to talk about the next generation, which is something I'm very passionate about as well.
Yeah. Before we dive in fully into the big topic today, I did want to say I have a profound appreciation for the magnitude of what you're overseeing there in your role, because I've, overseen a program with, 50 instructors and 85 classes a week, and it's overwhelming. So you're doing a much greater scale and somehow keeping it all together. And also,
never a dull moment for sure.
Also, your acceptance speech of when you won that award last year was absolutely so beautiful. It was so eloquent and articulate, and you have so much poise and grace and beauty and humility, and it was really really lovely. Like, it was a beautiful little acceptance speech. So
yeah, appreciate that. I was very nervous, but I'm glad I held it together.
It did not show at all.
Oh, great.
So we're going to be talking about the next generation of fit pros, and I am really excited to hear what you have to say. Let's sink our teeth into this, and maybe you could start with, what do you think I have a feeling we're going to agree on a lot of things. And what do you think the state is of our industry, in terms of the demographics today? What are we looking at?
I mean, I think we're by nature in this industry, we're very, positive and optimistic people, but I truly believe that the next generation, or the lack thereof of the next generation of fitness instructors, is a crisis. It's a total industry-wide crisis. This started rearing its head about a decade ago. The industry has, of course, it's evolved, it's changed. When I'm sure we were both cutting our teeth, teaching maybe one or two, maybe three formats, now there's over a dozen, right? So there's just all of these options. And I think the pandemic exacerbated the trend that we were seeing, which was, existing instructors kind of aging out, changing their choice of formats to perhaps be a little less intense, reducing the number of classes they're teaching, or letting their certifications die out altogether because of the rise of the licensed formats and all of the costs associated with that. And then you've got this young generation who, are engaged in certainly in health and fitness, and we're hearing so much about that next generation being very, very much committed to healthy living. But it's different. It's different on many levels, and we're just really needing to figure it out and figure it out fast, because I don't know. We're just struggling for enough instructors, enough quality instructors, available instructors, individuals who are choosing group fitness as more of, a full-time career as opposed to just a part-time hobby. There's lots of challenges, and we're just really needing to figure it out. Need to figure it out fast.
I agree. And so for the sake of the audience, we hadn't talked. Ingrid and I had not compared notes at all. I was like, hey, I'd love to have you back on the show. What topics might you be passionate about bringing to this amazing audience? And, she emailed me like 3 possible topics. And one of them was like the next generation of Fit Pros. I'm like, that one. And she was like, yes, I'm so passionate about that. But that's it. Like, that's the extent of the conversation that she and I have had on this topic. So I am hearing for the first time, just as you are, that she called it a crisis. And I agree. I agree it's a crisis. And I also agree that it started about 10 years ago or so. And I think from my perspective, there was a shift. I mean, when I started teaching, I was like a spring chicken. I was like a very young girl, and so were a lot of my colleagues. And you don't see that today. Like when we go out on the conference circuit, which is where Ingrid and I have seen a lot of each other, I see a lot of, middle-aged, white women. Like I see a very small, I see a very niche demographic.
That's the typical demographic, absolutely. And anyone under 40, I'm like, oh my gosh.
I'm like a young one there. Like I'm a young one, and I shouldn't be the young one at the show. And so it is a problem. And I like that you said they're aging out. And I've even seen surveys and survey results from different organizations that are like, here's what's trending in group fitness today. And they're polling their audience, and they're saying that the trends are active aging, active aging, active aging, active aging, active aging, active aging. And I'm like, but you're polling the active aging. You're polling these instructors.
Inherently flawed.
No, we have to be proactive. And that is not the trend. I mean, yes, we have the boomers, and yes, we need to care for that population. And yes, active aging should be should be part of every group fitness, group X schedule. We should be taking care of that demographic. Sure. But we need to I think we need to poll differently and have different stats. But I think that when the boutiques are so cool. Like, do you ever go to like a boutique bar or
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah. I'm always shopping,
yes, me
what's
too.
going
And like
on? Why is there a
there,
line outside the door of that
that's right.
studio? What's going on in
Yeah,
there?
and it's I feel like when I have secret shopped, gone in and like tried to experience these things, I'm always impressed. I'm always like,
Mhm.
wow, they're doing it. They're doing X, Y, and Z right. Like it's cool. The culture is cool. I remember going to a cycle bar in Bend, Oregon, and it wasn't even like the style, like the bar. I wasn't even about the type of cycle class. In fact, I thought it was a little bit weird using the bar on the bike. But anyway, I
Right.
was like, the experience was so cool. I walk in, they had my name on a locker, like all the colors were a certain way, and it was just there was just like this immediate sense of culture and feeling of belonging and cool factor. And it just so anyway, I think the boutiques, I think they pay better. They do.
Yeah,
They pay better than most. And
they're doing a lot of things right, and for sure, certainly it's a different business model. But what they do, from my understanding, is this active recruitment from different realms that we don't typically think about in to attract people into the fitness industry. There's a lot of fitness models, right? There's a lot of people in the fashion and retail space. So they're connecting with those people. A lot of people from the dance community, they're connecting with those folks as
you mean
well.
the boutique studio owners and managers are recruiting from those places?
Yes, yes.
Ah,
But now here's my challenge with their structure. They've essentially created their own certification
yeah,
courses, right?
right.
So it's often, this 6-week boot camp of like, this is our brand, and this is how you have to teach,
Hmm.
which is fine from a Starbucks perspective in terms of kind of guaranteeing this consistent product.
Hmm.
The challenge I have with that is you lose the inherent joy of teaching, right? If you're not giving people creativity. So the longevity of the instructor's satisfaction, I think, is limited. It's cut in half at best. The other issue I have with the boutique structure is that the scheduling, again, this is based on my qualitative research, but
Yeah.
they're getting people to teach 14 classes a week. And that's like, okay, great. You're making a full-time salary based on, their 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 rate of pay, but like, especially if you're talking about spin, like
Yeah.
how long are you going to be able to keep that up?
Hmm.
So the actual longevity of an instructor lifespan in that model is very short. So it's kind of a churn structure.
Mm.
So that, although they are doing a lot of things right, I think they need to figure out how to create a little more balance and keep those instructors passionate and healthy for longer.
And they also are really just for the most part offering one thing. Like, your Orange Theory has a one style, like in your bar boutiques and your
Yeah, yeah,
style. Whereas what we have in the clubs is like the smorgasbord. It's
totally.
a little bit of that. And so the fact that you and I agree, we're just not seeing, we're aging out. To quote Shalene Johnson, she has said there's a shelf life for spandex.
Uh,
Shelf life for spandex. And so what's gonna happen 10 years from now if
yeah.
we don't have, if we're not somehow recruiting?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely young people in our clubs, and it's so interesting to watch their behaviors because they're often in pairs, right? They go to the gym as a social endeavor, but they are often propping up their phone and turning something on, some random YouTube workout. You're kind of like, ugh, what's the quality or credibility there? But that's where they're dialed in. So I like to say, of course, we have all kinds of stereotypes when it comes to each generation, but I think we need to really help that next generation remove barriers. And I don't know if you're familiar with a Les Mills study that was commissioned not too long ago. They surveyed 2,500 Gen Zs, and they were all already in the fitness space. So primarily participants or aspiring fitness
Okay.
professionals.
No, I'm not familiar.
And there's a lot of interesting stats that came from that. But the number one barrier towards becoming a fitness pro, from their perspective, was lack of mentorship,
Oh
which
my.
is like, okay. So they need a little more hand-holding and support and guidance. And they're not getting it from our certification courses or our traditional platforms. A lot of courses have shifted to online, as we know, which
Yeah.
is great for convenience, great for affordability, great, for practical purposes.
Yeah.
But we know the act of teaching a fitness class, you don't learn that online. You have to be in the moment, in front of people. It's essentially public speaking, which is like the scariest thing after the fear of dying,
Yeah.
right? Like we know this. So we've got to figure out how to, okay, have part of the course online, but you've got to have those practical components. You've got to have that mentorship and support or partnership with a veteran instructor. I put a lot of these things and experiment a lot in my clubs, and I see it work. You match someone with someone they feel already connected with, someone they admire, and you get them co-teaching for not forever, certainly. We can't compromise the member experience, but a 4 to 6 week plan of like, hey, teach the warm up, and then hey, stick around after class and let me give you some feedback, and then hey, work on this. And you've got to build and slowly get that confidence level up, because I think that's definitely the biggest challenge for this young generation is confidence.
Interesting. I didn't know, like, that study from Les Mills is interesting. I didn't know, I'm not familiar with it. It doesn't surprise me to hear that.
Hmm.
But also, it is curious to me because I did have people. I had a couple of different first bosses that, to varying degrees, I don't know if I just got lucky or if it was different then, but I had
Hmm.
I had mentors that worked with me in person on moving to the beat more. And I did, shadow. First, you just shadow the
Right.
instructor. And then, yeah, you do like 3 songs or a song, and then, you by the time you're on your own, you feel confident, to use your word, and prepared. And then I've had been fortunate to have people in my life to give me feedback.
Hmm.
So I wonder why that's missing today. Is it that maybe in part that what you said, the online trainings, I'm sure that's a huge part of it. And
Yeah.
I just wonder if we like as an industry, are we just not caring or not focused or not thinking about recruiting? Because you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's curious. I think again, it's this confluence of a number of mitigating factors. The other thing that I like to stay mindful of for Gen Zs in particular, they've been raised with social media,
yeah,
and they've been raised with, Peloton, and like that's the example,
right,
right? Like this very curated, polished image of really perfection to
right.
a certain degree.
Oh, so it
So
could be
that's this
intimidating.
other, yeah, like what they're viewing, they're like, oh,
Ah,
that's the expectation. Oh my gosh.
right,
So like, yeah, I'm not stepping into that.
right.
Right? I can't compete with that. That's their mindset. So this mentality that we need to again kind of I guess, confront is, it's about progress, not perfection, and helping young people understand that, you just need to show up and you just need to, know your stuff. But like your cueing doesn't need to be perfect.
No,
Your hair doesn't need to be perfect. Like
clearly.
just, yeah.
Ingrid and I both just finished teaching, and I'm like, "Oh, you
Like,
look lovely," and she's like, "I
thank
put a
goodness.
jacket on." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't." Okay, so that's really fascinating to me. So it's not that there's a lack of desire necessarily. It's
Mhm.
just that they don't have the confidence, don't know how, and maybe, like you say, you're right. They're comparing themselves to perfection. And I see it too all the time, that people working out to their phone all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I teach a cycle class. It's really cool. And it's kind of indoors, but there's this garage door to a terrace. It's really stunning. And out on the terrace, a lot of people are working out while I'm teaching cycle, and I can just kind of see them. And there's almost every day, there's tons of young people, and almost every day I see some some young Gen Zer out there with their cell phone, not even a tablet, just a little cell phone, doing a yoga routine or a HIIT routine or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's definitely it's their safe place. It's a safe structure. And I think there's a fear of judgment in, taking that step of engaging in group exercise. But also, we know that when you see yourself reflected in a profession or in an activity, you're more likely to think, yes, I can do that. And what they're seeing is not themselves reflected. So
No,
it's
that's
kind of like the
right.
chicken and the egg, right? So it's kind of like, I know I'm not going to get young people until I have a young instructor. But
That's
how do I get a
right.
young instructor without getting young people in the class, right? So it's this challenge. But on the bright side, what we are seeing is, at least in our area, a lot of growth in terms of the power of the social activity. So we're seeing the rise in walking clubs, running clubs, hiking clubs. I know you have kids. I've got two boys. They're in their 20s now, but they played competitive hockey, but now they play recreational hockey. And that's how they stay active and fit because primarily, I mean, they enjoy the sport, but all of their friends play. So it's kind of like whatever is social is going to attract them. So I think that's definitely a note to everyone in the group fitness side of the industry, especially, leading programming and trying to get enough instructors. You need to make it a party. You need to make it very attractive and appealing and a community, because that's what's going to draw young people, and it's going to help them start to feel like, they're involved in something bigger than themselves. So that's definitely something that I make a conscious effort to work on is, create social opportunities for your staff. I know we're going to talk about educational workshops, making those as fun and community oriented as possible. And I challenge my team. I'm like, bring someone younger than yourself. Bring one of your kids or
To
a
just
friend
attend class.
yes, to attend your classes and to attend our workshops.
Well, this
Because
is
I'm like, I don't care if you're not yet certified. I want you exposed to the joys of group fitness.
yeah.
And then we'll talk about your certification.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this is a great point. We need to address it. Look, we need to say we want young people in there. We want young people
Mhm.
in. Bring your daughter. Like,
Exactly.
a lot of the industry has kids in the Gen Z age group.
Exactly.
So bring your kids, like bring them to class. And just listening to you talk made me reflect on why I got into teaching. And it was not because I experienced Peloton or saw Kai's Fit on or Hannah Eden or anyone on any social media.
Mhm.
It was because I took a class and the experience and the people changed my life. And I wanted to be able to pay that forward and to have that, do something with my life that was transformative like that. I
Absolutely.
had experienced it. And so you're right, we need to get them in to experience it. And we need to address we need to just address it. We need to address
Yeah, active recruitment and active involvement. And again on the education front, I know the IDEA ACSM combo has involved a lot of students. I was presenting a few workshops there and I met tons of college kids, and that was like so invigorating.
That's what Amy said you said you listened to that episode.
Mhm.
Amy Boone Thompson was just recently a guest on the show, and she was saying that ACSM was a lot of young kids.
Yes, very exciting. And so that's something that can be done
So
locally.
why was that? Oh, because why was that again?
Just I think the ACSM connection in particular,
Why? But why would the ACSM? Because more personal trainers, because
I think they're involved in a lot of college courses,
okay.
providing like textbooks and that side of the industry. So I think it was just a fact of students being more aware of the fact that this event was happening.
I know a couple people that work in college programs that for ACE that do,
Hmm.
they have kind of a, do you know what I'm talking about? Where they kind of go through the ACE curriculum over the course of a semester.
Yeah, it's like integrated into
Yeah.
courses.
And
Yeah.
integrated in, and then they test at the end and they can, they're equipped to pass. And then they also get some practical teaching hours in there too.
Yeah, that's a brilliant structure, but quite frankly, I think we should be offering that at the high school level.
Oh my gosh, Ingrid.
Oh, yeah. I think we need to address this much earlier, because just as the fitness industry has changed, the education industry, or the realm of how we educate our kids, that's changed as well. And they're making decisions much earlier in life about, career directions and career pathways. So I think we need to tap them grade 11, grade 12, and really get connected to them earlier.
Okay, so we're like, I had some questions like loosely prepared for you, and we've kind of like danced around and but
Gone
bounced
off.
around all over. So I'm just gonna try to like see if we've missed anything so far. Any other thoughts about either what attracts young instructors, or did you want to say anything else about the mentorship program? I know IDEA is gonna do a mentorship program for the first time.
Yes, yes. I've been involved in that as well, which is again very exciting. And again, it's like that idea of taking an active role in creating mentorships and attaching, you know, aspiring young fitness pros to the people that they can really lean into for guidance and support. So that's definitely something I'm excited to see how that unfolds. But again, we can mentor on the most local and basic level. And I think if and when you have a young person in your class, to really, give them attention
Yes.
and give them an understanding of what they can do in the industry.
And
But I think also meeting people where they're at. I engage a lot with our personal trainers, because that's the other shift that's happened in the industry. Of course, people see personal training as a much more viable path to a full-time career,
yes.
as opposed to the physicality and demands. You can't teach an 8-hour day of group fitness. But I always say balance is best, because it's very exhausting to be 100% personal training as well. So, but given that, when I talk to trainers, and it's interesting that the conversations have been kind of in two ways. Sometimes they approach me and they're like, "Hey, I'd really love to start teaching fitness classes." And I'm like, "Great. Have you ever been to a fitness class?" And they're like, "No." I'm
Oh,
like,
really? Oh,
"Okay."
interesting. That's so funny that they would want to teach. I'm
Well,
not
yeah, because like they see the energy and the
Yeah.
appeal, and
Yes.
which is fantastic, but it's kind of like, okay, well, first start going to classes, like try out a few. I love how keen you are, but I mean, this is where we're at. Like, we can't take anything for granted, right? Like, these young kids, they don't know what they don't know. So I'm always like, we'll start there, and then we'll talk about, what do you enjoy most? And then we'll talk about, finding you a mentor, and leaning into that format. But also, I like having the conversations to find out, well, what are your skills? Oh, I used to take dance classes. Oh, I was a soccer coach. I'm like, great. Let's recognize that you have existing skills, right? And let's work with that, and help them discover the fact that, they're not actually starting from zero. There's things that they have experienced that will be an asset in this pathway to becoming a fitness class instructor. But yeah, it takes time, and it takes, that effort. But I think, yeah, we need to hone our own mentorship programs, and give these young people opportunities. And maybe it is a social walking club or run club based out of your facility, to get them engaged in group activities. And then from there, you're going to see the ones that show up regularly. And, it's that nudge of like, hey, I think you'd be great at leading this group. Or, hey, would you mind, if I take the front, you take the back, and we'll just kind of partner up on this, and build that dynamic and build that relationship. And that's going to build their confidence.
That's great. Yeah. And I think just being honest, if you do see a young person in your class that's eager and enjoying it, to just say, hey, we need you. Like, we
Mhm.
need you and I'll help you. You can do this, empower them and just, you know.
Absolutely. And what's funny about that process, which I've done many times, I'm not ashamed to say, I'm like shamelessly recruiting all the time. But 9 times out of 10, it has never occurred to that person. They're like, really? Like, you think I could teach? I'm like, absolutely. And it's just, again, it's this
No,
lack
you're
of
right. I
awareness.
agree. I'm always recruiting too.
Mhm.
It's such a joy to teach that I want others to experience that,
Totally.
truly, truly. But you're right. They often are like, or often they are like, I've never thought about it. But sometimes they say, I have thought about it.
Yes.
And they're like, really? And then I like to always say this, the best instructors are students first. The best ones are
Absolutely.
people just like you. You make the best instructors. And especially if you belong to the club, especially if you're a member,
Yeah.
an actual member who takes classes, who's part of that community and subculture of a class, the members love when they come into a teaching role. They love it.
Yes. They're
And
so supportive.
so supportive. And I
Yeah.
tell them like, I'm like, I could hire someone and I'm not in a hiring role right now, but I used to say this all the time. I can hire someone with the best, most stacked resume with every certification under the sun. They've been teaching for 20 million years and they're going to come in here and the members are going to pop a hip out and look at them and cross their arms like, prove it. We don't know you. But like, but then a member can
Right.
become an instructor. They can make 400 mistakes, forget their first name, you know,
So funny.
and the class will give them a standing ovation at the end. So it is true. It's true.
Yeah. Um, I would like to point something else out that I think is a factor though, and that is, we touched on formats and, the boutique specificity. But in, the general fitness club domain, it's been an interesting evolution where we used to be the jack of all trades or Jill of all trades, right? More formats, the better. And then somehow we got really specific to, oh, I only teach spin, or I only teach yoga, or I only teach Pilates. And I think that's come back to bite us for sure, because now I need like 3 times as many instructors to fill a schedule,
Oh,
as
right.
opposed to, a handful who have a diverse set of skills.
Right.
So I think there's something to be said. I mean, of course, you have to start with one or two to just, gain your skills in one domain, but there's so many transferable skills. So just really, supporting that growth and that, I guess, continued evolution towards being multi-skilled
Yes.
in terms of multi-formats. But then kind of along with that is, again, the rise and fall of license formats, because you have what I'm going to coin a new word here, going Zoom bankrupt, right? Because you've got people who are also phasing out of the industry because they're just done with paying all these license fees.
Oh, yeah.
So that's another element and consideration for the young person who's looking at their options and going, well, wait a minute. And they're doing the math, right? Like basically teaching fitness classes will cause me to go into a financial deficit because of all of these license fees. So that's something else to kind of navigate and help a young person through, in terms of understanding like, hey, okay, you can pursue your personal training certification. That's not going to teach you skills to be a group fitness instructor necessarily, but I can still get you mentored and get you teaching a core class or a stretching class. Like with personal training skills, you can at least get started in that realm, or just having those conversations to help them understand, oh great, you've got a dance background, great, you want to go the Zumba route, okay, this is what's involved and this is what it's going to cost,
Yeah.
but here are some other options, like warrior options, like Masingi options, that are not quite as perhaps expensive, but actually give you a lot of transferable skills so that you can teach a multitude of different formats.
Uh, I so agree. And I do think we have a whole bunch of different types of instructors that listen to the show. It is like, it's like a muscle, adapting new modalities and formats and styles adding them to your teaching toolbox. Because I remember when I was a new instructor, I was like, even adding a second format was like so scary. And then a third one was so scary. And like you just adapt, you grow, in all of the skill sets it takes, including capacity. So
Yes.
it is teaching a variety of, I could sub anything. Like I could
Yeah.
teach anything.
You learn to wing it.
Maybe not a dance class, but yeah, that's good. So, okay, we talked about how IDEA has done some sort of groundbreaking work on this front of recruiting the next generation. We talked about how the ACSM summit that you went to in Denver was really successful with attracting the new generation, but also they have this new mentorship program that is being launched now. I think you said you have your fingers in that too, to help with the mentorship piece. So
Yes, I
I
believe
know
it's the IDEA Mentorship Network.
Yes,
So
yes,
that's
yes.
definitely
And
a
that's
link we
not
can put in.
just for young, that's for any instructor,
Exactly.
but perfect for this topic.
Yes.
We know IDEA is doing some great things, but what do you think about the industry at large, or maybe other organizations? Do you think the industry is aware of the crisis? Do you think that they're doing things to take? Do you think there's a blind spot? What do you think that the industry is doing, or could be doing better, or is doing that's great?
Well, I think the industry is definitely aware. And from the certification side, my concern is, you know, we're being forced to react as opposed to kind of controlling it or owning the narrative, because we're just seeing the drop in registrations, right? We're seeing the drop in people signing up for certification courses, for continuing education courses, and the like. So how do we respond to that? Well, a lot of courses are shortening, right? We're reducing costs. In some cases, I think removing the exam piece or modifying that. I think options are great. And again, we've got to meet this next generation where they're at. But I'm really concerned about maintaining that level of standard, right? So I think there's definitely, we've got to grow, we've got to adapt, we've got to evolve, but how do we do that without softening our standards? And I think that's a conundrum that we're all grappling with.
You just reminded me, it's one of when you and I very first ever had a conversation ever, it was before my first podcast with you, and we actually touched on this because, and I think you and I even had like slightly different opinions, but I think that's great. I think it's great because I think it isn't one way
That's
or the other,
what
but
makes the world go round.
exactly, like I vaguely remember talking about how like I just really like to have a low barrier to entry. So like Warrior has a very low barrier to entry for getting certified. I say Zumba does as well. And whereas I think Les Mills has a higher barrier, like it's more expensive, it's a much longer process. You have to submit a video. And like I think they're both great. They're both great. The whole spectrum is great. But the pros and cons with the low barrier to entry is that does mean that people with less skill can get started, and that can bite us in the butt because
Yeah.
that
They're just
for obvious
typically,
reasons.
yeah, they're
But
going to need more
remember,
mentorship when they're
we're gonna
finished,
need more
right?
mentorship. But like,
So it's
remember I
kind of
told
like,
you I was really bad when I started. I was like, I thank God for my first boss because I was really bad, but she mentored me. So I had that
right,
piece,
yeah.
So you're
I
right.
think as long as we're prepared for that, I agree. I think we do need to lower the barrier for entry. And I think one of my initial concept for Masingi was that it was a secondary certification. But I'm recognizing, I mean, this might be somewhat off topic, but in terms of just um, the practice that I've developed, I think is appealing to just people that want to move. They don't necessarily have to aspire to becoming instructors. So I've now created the dual option of taking Masingi, the course, right, as a direction of, or as with the purpose of personal growth. Or you can take the course and write the exam and submit a video, and then you're a certified instructor. So in that way, I'm kind of, and the person who takes it for personal growth might decide at some point later in time,
Want to teach
okay,
it.
I do want to teach.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think again, it's about options,
Yeah.
affordable, practical, realistic options.
That's brilliant, Ingrid. I love it. That's so great. Probably even in going through the training, even if they are taking the track of like not planning on taking the exam and stuff, I bet some of them
Mhm.
are like,
Yeah, hey, I could
I
do
could
this. That's the
That's
hope.
clever. That's clever. That's really good. So what do you think the next generation of Fit Pros looks like, and or maybe this is kind of the same question. Like what is your advice for attracting passionate, um, you know, passionate talent? Or, you know, maybe we should be doing like instructor calls,
Mhm.
almost like, what do you call it? Not like American Idol.
Yeah, like
Not
auditions. Yeah.
auditions. Yeah, like
Yeah. Yeah.
like instructor calls where they get to, come demo a couple minutes,
Yeah, show
right?
up and yeah, show us
Back
what
and
you
then
got kind of thing. I think there's something to that. I know that I've I have given that a try. And in fact, one year I ran a contest. And I basically said, hey, show up. If you're interested in becoming a fitness class instructor, I will gift you the full certification course and like 1 year membership or something like that. Like I just create a prize package. And I ended up with about a dozen applicants, and 7 people were put through a course. And I had a grand prize winner, and she was highly profiled. And now you're reminding me of this. I did this like, I think I did that like 6 or 7 years ago. So it's time to do that again for
oh
sure.
my gosh, what a great idea. And even at the end there could be, I love that you did a prize like that.
Yeah, it was, and we made a big deal out of it, and it was pretty exciting. So yeah, um the now the winning instructor, this was pre-COVID, of course. She ended up, I think, wanting to start a family. So but I should try and look her up and see what she's up to now.
You should. You should. That's really
But yeah, I think we need to be innovative, creative. I'm somewhat biased, but I think, of course, I think what you're doing is amazing with Warrior. I think what I'm doing is amazing
good.
because it's different.
I
It's
know.
innovative. It's cutting edge. It's something new. So we've just got to kind of keep that creative, innovation happening. Because part of what has made group fitness, I think, so appealing to me after 3 decades is that it has that trend-setting energy. There's always something new and fun and exciting, and that's what attracted me. Because back in the day, it was hip hop step. I was like, I want to do that. That looks fun. So what's the latest? Well, yeah, maybe it is warrior rhythm, or the a Masingi practice where you feel like, oh, this isn't what I perceived, fitness or exercise to be. This is cool and edgy and fun.
As an aside, for newer programs out there like Masingi and Warrior, it can be a real benefit to pick up something new as a new young instructor, because something new isn't everywhere. Like Ingrid and I have found success in the launches of our programs, but we're not everywhere. Like, there's all
Right.
kinds of places geographically on the map where you won't see a warrior formats. So, or Masingi, I'm sure, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because they're still new. It's not like Zumba where most clubs have a Zumba class offered, but so it can be, I think, less intimidating to be like the one bringing something new to your club because it's new and exciting and fun, and no one's seen it before.
Very
So,
true.
you
Very
know,
true. And you're
so
not
like
kind of
you're the
hanging on
pro.
to, yeah, other influences or formats that can kind of influence something innovative and new, right?
It reminds me of when I brought when I was the first PIO instructor in Eugene, and I remember that I kind of sucked at it and it was new and I didn't move like I wasn't a yogi, but I was like, but they don't know. They don't know
Right.
they've never taken PIO from someone amazing before. So
Exactly.
I'm gonna,
So,
wow, this is it. There's nothing to compare it to. So that's really neither here nor there, but it can be a benefit to bring something new. And like you said,
Agreed.
new programming is exciting. And I like that you use the word energy. And I think the young generation wants to be part of it. And I also agree with something you said at the beginning of our conversation about, I do think the young generation wants to move. I do think they're super into fitness and health and eating, and like
Absolutely.
we're not seeing them smoke cigarettes, and like they're in,
Yeah, they're drinking
not in
less
tanning beds
and
anymore, and alcohol is like out. And yes, it's,
yeah,
so I think that that's exciting. But we got to connect the dots between their eagerness and desire to be involved in health and fitness and getting them into the front of a classroom with a microphone on their head.
yeah, it's still it's a big leap, and it will take work to get them there. But I think, again, appealing to where they're at, what their interests are, what their values are. If you're a club or an organization that is, has great DEI in place, it has great environmental practices in place, has a great sense of culture and community. Those are all things that are going to draw a young person to being involved, and then just, keeping that open door. I often, you enter into a studio and there's young people kind of again with their earbuds and doing their own thing. But I always approach and just say, oh, hey, just so you know, there's a class starting in 10 minutes. There's spots still available. I'd love for you to stay. Like they actually need that personal invite.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's so true. Um, I have an instructor friend that is so good at that, and she's always pulling people off pieces of cardio and getting them in there.
Fantastic.
I was just gonna say something too. You also use the phrase chicken and egg, and that can also be exciting, because if we can reverse that, the trend, like if we do like the clubs that you oversee, the Group X clubs in Canada, if the trend, if Gen Z starts picking up more classes, it's going to attract younger people. It's just going to the chicken and the egg can work the other way too. And so I think that's just what we as individual instructors, like in you listening, everyone listening, you can affect the overall outcome of this crisis.
Absolutely.
You can just by doing your invites and having your eyes open and asking and inviting. And then I just think collectively too, we can make a difference, and we can save the ship. It's not going to sink.
Exactly. Yeah,
um
it can't. We've got too
can't
much on the
can't no
line,
no
we've still got this obviously, a healthcare crisis and aging population. Like we are leaning into this young generation to help us out when we're,
Yes, and that's the other thing
30
is
years
like,
from now.
this is not about like ageism. It's not about like, because I think you get real good as an instructor as you're into your 40s and 50s. Like, so it's
Absolutely.
not about that. It's just about right now we are in a crisis, and we are not seeing very much of the young fitness professional. And I even think hiring young people to run the front lines and greet people, all those things can make a difference.
For sure, for sure. Which is yet another avenue. I often ask my front desk staff, like, hey, have you ever
Oh
thought
yeah.
about teaching a class?
Yeah,
Because they know all of the members.
I know.
So, like, if they were to step into that
They
studio,
would get a
their
standing
class is
ovation.
packed. So I'm like, no brainer, like, let's get you going. So, it takes some cajoling and some convincing. But here's another idea, actually. I liaise with the general managers of each of our locations, and I task them with scheduling a team building fitness class once a month. And I'm like, tell me the class you want, even tell me the instructor that you want, and we will make it happen. And it's just for the team. It's just for the staff to experience a class, because it shocks me every time when I engage with usually, newer staff members, but they've never been to a class. And I'm like, what is happening? So give them the opportunity to experience a class so they know what it's all about. They
I
can
hear your
sell it
emails you're
better.
getting. I hear your
Oh,
emails.
uh-oh.
No, I love it. Life of a group fitness director. Your phone's probably blowing up too. I just
Oh
can't
my
hear.
gosh. I'm like, did someone not show up to class?
Like
Oh my God.
supervisor sweats. Absolutely. Like everyone, the team, your supervisor team, your admin
Yes.
should know, your instructors should know what the formats feel like, should know how to describe them, because they're
100%.
being asked about it. So yeah, I think that's Huge.
Yeah.
I was going to say one more thing, and then I want to talk about Masingi. About oh, I mentioned this earlier about the whole survey thing. Like some of the surveys that I've been privy to and seen, I'm like, I think these are skewed. I just want to challenge the like owner operators and people that are in charge of putting schedules together to just be a free thinker about some of those, active aging is the most popular trend today in the industry.
Exactly.
Um,
Definitely
be,
question that.
be careful because yeah, and 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 also on a schedule. And I think clubs are really unique and they have like their own fingerprint and they're not all the same. Like yoga does so well here. Like our yoga classes are just full.
Mhm.
At a yoga class, it's going to fill up. So I don't think that our schedules need to be evenly balanced between like this many functional training and equal amount of dance and equal amount of cycle and equal amount of aqua and like all the different buckets or modalities of fitness
Yeah.
out there. It doesn't need to be equal, but we do need to meet the needs of the members we have, which might be more yoga, it might be less yoga, it might be more functional training, but we do need to intentionally, regardless of what surveys might be saying about active aging right now. Yes, we need active aging, but we do need to put programming on the schedules that is attractive to young folks.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%. Different clubs are going to have different cultures and different demographics and even different skill set of instructors. And that's all going to influence what a schedule looks like. At the end of the day, yes, it should be responsible from a programming perspective. Like you can't have a hit across,
Yeah.
only 9 a.m. and Zumba only at 6 p.m. You've got to have some balance and variety. But having said that, yeah, especially from the perspective of a young person, they want things that are current and on trend.
Yeah.
And
Fun
if the class
music,
is filling up,
fun music. And
yes.
the other thing, I've probably said this on a different episode, probably because I find it so interesting. But people think they're younger than they are because we feel younger than we are. Like I definitely feel like I'm 18, you know what I mean? So like we also, when we see people, okay, in marketing, we identify when we see pictures of smiley faces working out, we identify with people that are 10 years younger than we are.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
so if you want, let's say 25-year-olds, like, it just, we have to, who we identify, it's just fascinating to
Totally,
think about.
totally. And
But
and that
marketing,
that comes with being a skilled mentor is letting go of your own preferences sometimes. Like I'm, engaging with these young aspiring instructors and they're sharing their playlists and I'm like, oh, like I wouldn't play that. Or they don't want to teach to tempo and that's okay, right? Like guide them, but like they have to make it their own and
yeah,
we have to be okay with that.
yeah,
So maybe it isn't tempo driven, or maybe it is, a, a format that I don't know that you wouldn't enjoy, and
right,
that's okay, right?
right.
If they're enjoying it, and if they're especially if they're building attendance, then they're doing something right.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Masingi. I know our whole episode 14 was about it, so definitely go back and listen to that one. But give us a little bit of a plug for this amazing.
Sure, sure. Well, it's continuing to grow and evolve, and it's been continuing to just be a fun ride to just see, you know, my first wave of instructors, so to speak, and watching them succeed and seeing their classes build. But basically, it is, again, with the topic that we've been talking about, how can I create this almost, a new flavor or a new perspective when it comes to a fitness class. And I really like to use the term a movement practice because even the word fitness can be intimidating to some people, right?
Yeah.
So this idea that we can create some functional movements that we know everybody needs. We all need to be able to squat and lunge and press and pull and hinge at the hips. All of that is infused in this movement practice, but it's fun. I reference animals and the
Yes.
landscape of the Masai Mara, and we talk
Oh,
about, earth, wind, and fire in
yeah,
terms of
I was
what the
gonna ask
intensity
you to
levels.
say, tell them about Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah, it's just it's an innovative way to talk about feeling grounded or feeling mobile and flexible or feeling fired up and really wanting to, boost up your energy. So you can kind of take these 11 fundamental movements. That's all it is. It's based on 11 movements. So it's really easy to remember. But those 11 movements have the 3 different intensity levels.
Okay.
So you can choose to just do lower body earth movements. And then maybe you want to do upper body wind movements. And then maybe you want to do the fire up the core, right? I mean, you can just pick and choose. So from an instructor point of view, you get to have that creative element. And from a programming point of view, you get to put something cool on your schedule that people are like, what? Masingi, what's that? Right? Again,
Yeah.
you always want to have something that's innovative and new.
Ears creates interest. Yeah. And I like
So
that you give there's room for the instructor to express themselves and make it their own, because that ties into that joy factor that you talked about and keeping burn.
absolutely.
There's nothing like having some ownership in it and putting yourself uniquely into it, even if there's some structure and it's pre-choreography, but making it your own, and uh, is a different kind of
Yeah.
level of joy and satisfaction.
I think that's an important level of appeal from an instructor's point of view, but most importantly from the participant point of view, what we're hearing is that people are basically saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm moving pain-free for the first time in years," because we're really just taking that idea of meet yourself where you're at, right? Like you can modify or you can intensify. This is you're the expert in your body.
Yeah.
So here's the fundamental movement. Here are the options. Let's put on some great Afro beats and let's just move
Yeah.
through this tempo and just find the joy again. Like I think we have this still this perception that exercise is hard, exercise is a chore. It's painful, it's not enjoyable. And we wonder why we don't have more people engaging in exercise as a regular healthy habit. So I'm really just driven to kind of knock down that myth to say, no, no, movement is absolutely joyful and can be pleasant and pain-free. So that's what a lot of Masingi participants are saying.
Awesome. So, do you have an online course?
I do. I prefer to teach a hybrid course.
Yeah, right, right.
So yeah, so it's basically 4 hours. Kind of. Well, there's a precursor, like a hour-long webinar, and then the course itself is ideally 4 hours in person.
Right.
And then it's followed up. If you want to pursue getting certified, then you have 4 hours of practical as well as a video.
Got it.
So it's kind of piles on depending on what you want out of it. But the next course is June 21st,
Okay.
and
Oh,
that's coming up. Yeah.
so 2 months, basically,
Mhm.
roughly from when this episode will air. Give or
Yeah, and it's all on all of the information and sample, video clips of what Masingi looks like. That's all on my website, masingimovement.com.
Thank you for sharing that. And does Masingi, it has an Instagram account. Give us
Yes,
an
yes.
Instagram
I
for
should
that.
probably spell it though.
Do it, do it, do it, do it.
Msingi, Masingi Movement. So yeah, on Instagram, it's just at Masingi Movement.
And we're going to see each other and some of this audience at Idea World in July. So
Oh,
you'll be presenting Masingi there, correct?
I will be. And I have to talk about just one more really cool fact about being there. I'm going to present 2 workshops, or a workout and then a workshop. And I will be co-presenting with a wonderful woman who attended my launch of Masingi 2 years ago. So talk about mentorship and next generation. This is a full circle moment. Her name is Elaine, and Elaine Sanders. She's going to join me and be on stage with me and help me present. So that's, I think, definitely mentorship in action.
Absolutely. I hope I don't have a schedule conflict because I desperately want to attend. I want to support you. I want to
Oh, I
do
appreciate it.
Mazingi. So you'll have to shoot me a little email and tell me when you're presenting.
Yes.
Or I can just look at the schedule. I can look at the schedule, but
Yeah, I think
as long
it's
as
the
we're not
last
at the same
day.
time, I will
But
be
yeah, I know
there.
you're going to be crazy busy as well, but
I'm
I
only
definitely
doing three. I'm
okay,
only
okay.
doing three, but I am gonna be, I will have a booth to be at, but
Fantastic.
I have to break away to get some education for myself and to learn from other presenters. And so you're on my priority list for sure.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's going to be so great.
Okay. So, and then did you give your personal Instagram, Ingrid Knight-Cohee? Is that what it
Yes, oh, I haven't given that. So that's, yeah, my
is?
first initial and full last name. Sorry, it's it's a mouthful. I Knight Cohee without the hyphen. That's
Okay.
my handle.
Okay. Perfect. Well, oh, wait. Do you have a
Uh-oh.
confession? We forgot. This is a confession show. Did
Oh
you
my
even think
gosh.
about it? I forgot to remind
I
you.
oh
Ah!
I'm so bad at this.
Forgot to remind you.
I don't really, what can I confess about? I I love cooking shows. And I love Nordic noir. That's I'm half Norwegian, so maybe that's where it comes from. But any good Nordic noir novel or
Ooh.
Netflix series, that's like
Oh,
really
really?
intriguing to me.
Oh, I love it. Do you like to do a little Netflix?
Yeah, yeah. What are we watching now? Oh, we just started something and now I'm forgetting. But yeah, I'm
I like
into
a
kind
little
of.
bit at night. I like a little. I just finished Queen of the South.
Oh,
Uh,
I
it was
haven't watched that one.
amazing. I like to say it had me in a chokehold. Like
Okay.
very
Yeah.
crazy.
Anything, kind of murder mystery,
Started Severance because
that's
I heard it was.
thriller, psychological thriller.
Yes, I like those too.
Okay.
I just started Severance. It's very bizarre. I've heard great things about it, but it isn't so far. It's not great. So far it's
Okay.
not great.
Yeah.
But
It's one of those things you kind of have to, so season one?
I just started
Or-
it. I heard it's amazing, but like I'm like 5 episodes in. Like when is it gonna get amazing?
Okay.
But I'm gonna give it a little longer.
It's a slow driving pace, but yeah, not
Um,
everything is for everyone.
I think it's fun hearing that we both do a little bit of Netflix because I know people think that because we are psychotically busy. But that is
Oh,
something that helps me decompress a little bit.
yeah, you got to have your decompression time. But yeah, my strategy is that's when I do all of my rolling too. Like my therapeutic
Oh,
rolling is as I'm watching a show because then I
oh,
fit it in and it all works out.
my God. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on the show again. And I
It was a pleasure.
know, and really, truly, thank you do you have any final words about, or any last minute recap tips about inspiring the new generation for us?
I think just that reminder of like, yeah, doing nothing is actually doing something in terms of, not solving the problem. So if you're in the industry and you need subs or you need more quality instructors, ask yourself like, what are you actively doing about it? And figure it out with, hopefully you have a team and you can figure out some creative solutions. But playing an active role in solving and then sharing what works and what doesn't with the rest of your network, because we're all in this together.
I guess I really learned from you today because I thought that maybe kind of the root of the problem was that some of the boutique fitness styles, the boutique fitness offerings for instructors are more appealing to them because of pay, because of the cool culture. And maybe that is at play also. But what I
Mhm.
really learned from you is that it's more solvable than that, that they need encouragement. They need to be encouraged, and then they need to be mentored, and we can do that.
Yes, I think we absolutely do that. And we need to provide community. If there's not a fun, magnetic community for them to be involved with, then they'll go anywhere or they'll go elsewhere.
That's right. Ah, so true. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and Ingrid, thank you for sharing an hour of your busy life with me.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
I'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining in on the Confessions of a Group X Instructor podcast. If you're interested in becoming a warrior instructor, go to warriorinstructors.com. But if you want more and found this episode amazing, please give us a rating. And with a simple click to subscribe, we'll invite you back to our next episode. So remember, be brave, be bold, be blessed. And above all, listen, learn, love.